As Rangers fans, we know that a goaltender is the backbone of a hockey team. At Abundant Wealth Management, we are your financial backbone, offering financial planning, wealth management, tax planning, and estate planning services. To schedule your free consultation, head to www.abundant-wealth.com. That's www.abundant-wealth.com. Abundant Wealth Management. Live, plan, triumph.
You're listening to Rangers Radio, your home for end-to-end coverage of the New York Rangers. With your hosts, Brendan Azoff, Zach Domino, and Steve Pappas. Blue Shirts fans, the puck drops now.
Welcome to Rangers Radio, everybody. Brendan, Steven, Zach, or Zook, whatever you want to call him. He's here with us as well. We got a full show. I feel like it's been a while since we actually had all three of us on the screen. And, of course, there's not much to talk about. It's the offseason. We're in the heart of it. But playoffs are going on. Edmonton's the first team to punch their ticket to the conference finals. We got Mike Sullivan officially being introduced as the new Rangers head coach. Him and Chris Drury went to the Knicks game when they were up 2-0, and of course the Knicks lost because Rangers and the Garden and 2-0 just don't go together. So we could talk about some fun stuff like that. We could talk about the NHL Draft, the lottery. I know that didn't go the way Rangers fans wanted it to. But before we dive into the few topics we have to talk about, how's everything going, boys?
Good. I got to experience some playoff hockey yesterday. The Amerks in the third round. They had the rally towels against Laval. Unreal game. They lost though. 5-4. Laval scored with I think it was like 4.5 minutes left. But I mean, the pace of that game was unbelievable. Laval looks like a much better team. They were a lot more physical. Really got in the way of, like, Devin Levi gave up 5 goals. I think maybe 2 of them were like, you would say, hey, I want that back. The first goal that they scored was this dude, I don't know who it was, wound up from the top of the circle, stepping into a slap shot on the power play. Third or final goal, fifth goal was like a high tip. I mean, it was just some unreal hockey. And I've never seen the where the Amerks play that full before. It was loud for a minor league hockey game. It was a loud experience, and it was fantastic. But it's good to see like actual hockey and good hockey players playing in person, because I haven't seen that in a long time.
Yeah, and even though the Rangers haven't been in it, I've almost been watching more playoff hockey this year because, I'm not consumed with a specific team. And as I keep saying, since the Rangers have been out and we've had our episodes during the playoffs, it's just some different hockey. Like there's some good hockey out there. Some bad goaltending, but some good hockey, almost like the reverse Rangers are a lot of these teams that we're watching.
We dunked on Stuart Skinner enough. Look at this, 2 straight or back-to-back shutouts. He's found himself.
Oh, we're going to talk about the Vegas, because I don't know if I could not laugh at that franchise right now. You get shut up by Skinner twice.
Despise
I don't really care between Winnipeg and Dallas.
What
up, Jigga? I don't really care who wins between Winnipeg and Dallas, and it's realistically going to be Dallas when you look at the fact that they're up 3-1. But man, oh man, would I like to see how many goals Connor Hellebuck would give up in Edmonton. He would probably give up somewhere like probably double digits based on what he's averaging everywhere else. And the other thing is, not that anyone's rooting for the Hurricanes, but I think if the Hurricanes close it out and beat the Capitals 4-1, a lot of people will be proven right. And I think us three have been on that train in terms of Capitals are kind of overrated.
Oh, you're going that route. I'm going more I still think the Canes are overrated route. And
no. I think what you're saying says even more about the Capitals. Like, I still don't think the Hurricanes are that good.
No, absolutely not. But
the Capitals are not a good hockey team.
I've gone to the moon with this take about the Canes, and you throw them against a good team, a good goalie specifically, and this, quantity over quality method that they have just doesn't work, because you're going to see, these good goalies are going to see shots, and you're going to see it next round. Obviously if they advance, I think it's a certainty that Florida is going to advance. As soon as they went into overtime in game 3, and I'm like, if Florida gets this, they're not losing another game. And here we are beating the wheels off of the Toronto Maple Leafs. We all expected it to happen. I don't think the fact that Toronto got the first 2 games was a little shocking, but The Panthers did exactly what we thought the Rangers were going to do this year in, save the bullets to the playoffs, and they are firing on all cylinders right now. But to your point about the Canes and the Capitals, I mean, that's how bad the Metropolitan Division was this year. I mean, those are your two best teams. I mean, the Devils were very bad but very hurt. The Rangers stunk. The Islanders now have the first overall pick. The Flyers were awful. Columbus was fun but not great. Like, it was just an ugly division, and it's going to be fun to watch whatever team comes out of the Metro. Probably the Hurricanes get absolutely curb stomped by Florida in the conference finals.
Well,
and
I
said in the show,
and I said my bracket was whoever is going to win the Dallas-Colorado series is going to play whoever wins the Florida-Tampa series. Of course, I picked Tampa and Colorado, but I still don't see that, not happening. I think Dallas right now, they just got Heiskanen and Robertson.
Yep.
That's a good.
They're so good.
And they're up 3-1. Maybe Winnipeg takes the one at home, but we know Hellebuck on the road, they're not winning game 6. And you mentioned Florida and Toronto. When Toronto went up 2-0 and then was leading in game 3, I had the same inkling you did. I was like, they have to win this game. Now, normally a team doesn't have to win game 3 when they're already up 2-0, but Florida's got that kind of, Toronto's got that fragile mindset, right? Where they know what their history is, especially with this core, and any type of adversity seems to go against them. And last night, you can't come out in a 2-2 series at home and get curb stomped like that.
Yeah.
I mean, we dog on the Rangers a lot for their lack of mental toughness, it seems like. And it was more this year than anything. I mean, it's been 6-7 years of this for Toronto fans and the Toronto players. I mean, I was watching that Steve Dangle guy is hilarious, and I feel like I only find myself watching him when they lose because I don't really enjoy the happy Toronto fans. But I mean, his video after the last game was he was talking about what the players and what the organization and what the coaches call the fans. They call them noise, which, I mean, he's right. The fact that the organization and the players see the supporters of the franchise as noise. And that's just how broken and backwards the Toronto media and market and fan base is, that they're basically at war with their fans, despite never giving them a reason to be on a positive, basically have a positive spin on anything that they do.
And last year was Oilers Panthers, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Went to 7, so it'd kind of be pretty cool. Another thing, just to project, and even though we're probably crazy, and there's a chance that the Rangers would have gotten absolutely swept, but I mean, how good would you feel like? And Brendan, I know you were saying it. I was saying it like 3 weeks ago, like 3 weeks before the season ended. We would have beaten the Capitals and then got the Hurricanes in the second round, and we know how that's gone for the Rangers. Like, with the caveat of there's a good chance we may have gotten gentlemen sweep in the first round, and we're just projecting. But that doesn't scare you if you're a Rangers fan, right? This Capital team's in the first round. And then the Hurricane could have the 20 best players in the league on their roster. As long as the Rangers see the other opposing team in the playoffs in Hurricanes jerseys, that will never scare the players or us as fans. That, look, do we probably, even if that works, get curb stomped by the Panthers again in the Eastern Conference Finals? Sure. But that's a much different story, going to the Eastern Conference Finals again and losing to probably the best team than where we were this year. But that's why I wanted so bad in this Eastern Conference, specifically the way that the playoffs are, where we could have stayed home in the Metropolitan Division just to make it. Because you said it all the time, Brendan, like, you get pulled into the fight when you're in the playoffs, and that's like what this team was lacking. It wasn't so much the top-end skill. It wasn't so much the goaltender, which is a great equalizer, as we've seen throughout the playoffs, but I just would have liked to see with this team, with some mojo and some fight, which would have given them a little bit of benefit of the doubt. Probably would have happened in the playoffs. Would have happened against those two teams.
I just can't buy it. I can't buy that. I mean, we watched them for 82 games this year. We watched this team for 82 games this year, and there's nothing that. I mean, they lost every game to Carolina. I don't care. In this build of the New York Rangers team this year, we watched them get curb stomped by Carolina. We watched them get curb stomped by Washington the whole season. There was no thought in my mind that if they had made the playoffs, they were just going to magically turn it on and figure it out against the teams that just, were faster, stronger, and better than them all season. It wouldn't have happened. And I think it's more along the lines of us trying to feel better about what this season was. And we got to find every straw. I mean, right now I'm sitting here like, oh, the Islanders had the first overall pick. We've seen first overall picks not pan out before. So I mean, that's the only thing that's keeping me afloat right now. But I mean, New York hockey's in an interesting spot, and hopefully we can talk a little bit more about that down the line and a little bit more in the offseason. But I just can't buy the fact that the Rangers would have just snapped like that and figured it out if they made the postseason this year.
I just when I look at it, right, I didn't have the faith that they were going to get in. So it kind of muted my expectations. But I do believe, and I'll stand by it, that I don't think they would have gotten swept. I think it would have been a 7-game series against Washington if that's who they wound up facing. But there's just something about having that edge and goal where we've seen it in the playoffs. It's just, I mean, they lost 7-2, 7-2 to Pittsburgh. We're down 3-1, and then all of a sudden it switched. So there is something to be said for that switch kind of flipping in the postseason. And you got a veteran team that they all kind of went through the motions all year. If they just found a way in, there's no predicting. And yeah, I don't know if they would have beaten Washington or Carolina and gone back to the conference finals, but I definitely think it would have been a different team than we saw through 82. But the problem is that the 82 games matter, and it didn't to the Rangers this year. So it's all, what ifs and hypotheticals at this point. But going for the future, right? I mean, Washington's got one of the Hudson brothers coming up. They have Ryan Leonard, who's going to be there for a full season. They got a bunch of prospects. The Islanders now have the first overall pick this year. We'll see what they wind up doing, who they wind up picking, if they wind up making trades. They got rid of their GM and Lou Lamoriello, so they're going to have a new front office. And then you look at the Rangers and the other team in the tri-state area, multi-year extension to a GM that has done remotely close to nothing, with the roster construction that he had. Another coach over the last 3 years. It's just like, what the heck are the Rangers doing in comparison to the other teams? Like, the Devils have this prospect pool established. The Islanders are about to enhance their prospect pool, and the Rangers prospect pool ranks, I think, 31st in the league right now. Their top prospects, Gabe Perreault, who's to be determined. I think we all agree he's probably going to be a good player, but is he going to be the type of player that they need to jump into the top 6? Is Lafreniere going to find a way back to what he did and maybe better because he's a 1 overall pick? He has to be better.
They have that bump with the dad agent, like in our top 5 prospects. That's why I saw the ranking where we were 31. Like
Brendan Brisson.
We're barren, man. We're barren, and it's the one good thing that I think this is like the other side that about Sullivan, and why I really like the hire is I think when you hire someone like Sullivan, I think, and I could be wrong because this guy is like a cockroach, I think this is it for Drury. Like, I think that, like, if he has to fire Mike Sullivan, I think he's gone. I think they're gone in tandem. And
you think that's not a known? I mean, that's
no. I mean, you would think by this point, like, how many guys get 3? Like,
I'd sit here.
The other side of that is like, I think, but like, are you also shocked? Like, if in 3 years we're firing Sullivan,
I'd be shocked if it was 3 years, because at this rate, it's 2 years.
Yeah, like you would like to think it is.
That Sullivan will make it longer than Drury does. Like, if they're not great this year, if they, have a bad year again, and the offseason moves don't work and the chemistry's not right, I think Drury's gone. I think you save Sullivan and you let him try and build. But I mean, Drury's this is. I know we got the extension, but it means nothing. The extension just means, listen, you're not a lame duck general manager. This is, you have one more shot at this, and if we miss the playoffs again this year, see you later, because it's inexcusable for the talent that this team has.
But I look at the roster, right? We talked about the prospect pool a little bit. Even if Chris Kreider's gone, I just don't know how they improve enough. It's not even about improving the roster; it's about the players that they have regaining their form, and you hope that these regressions aren't permanent, because they don't have flexibility. Zibanejad blatantly said he's not waving, there's no movement, so he's here. Panarin's got a full note movement as well. You got just a logjam on the back end of underperforming NHL caliber defensemen. So are you able to have Carson Soucy submit a trade list
underperforming or bad?
We'll say underperforming because we're a family show and maybe we won't guess in the future. But even Calvin DeHaan is somebody that I'd rather have Calvin DeHaan playing on the blue line than Carson Soucy. And
especially when you look at value, especially because you probably get DeHaan for like at least half.
Yeah.
But what's going to be funny is like Sullivan seems to have some common sense. And
for now.
True. It seems like when you get behind our bench. No, but to be honest, they normally get 1 year of keeping that common sense. But like, and Steven was the number one proponent of this on this show and maybe in Rangers Twitter lands as well. Like, this may be the biggest what if and the biggest thing that could propel the Rangers. What if he plays Keandre Miller with Adam Fox and that pairing is really good? That changes everything because then you're not going into the offseason. I mean, you don't know this till after the offseason, but if you plan that, then you're going into the offseason looking more for a serviceable second left defenseman, which is a lot easier. Definitely a lot easier to go out there and get with the cap constraints that we have than needing a guy out there to play next to Adam Fox. Like, if you're going to say one thing from the guys we already have that could change, and there's many different combinations and things that do need to change, it could be as simple as just putting Keandre Miller next to Adam Fox. Because if those two play 20 to 25 minutes of hockey, that's close to half the game that you're getting top echelon like defense from a team that got literally 0 last year.
I think that's less of a what if, right? We've seen these two guys play together, and we've seen how successful Adam Fox and Keandre Miller are together. And if you want to make the argument that you want to split up the talent among the top two pairs, we've seen time and time again, it doesn't work. So if you look at Edmonton, and when Edmonton needs to get going and they need to play well, they throw Draisaitl and McDavid together. So if you need this team to be clicking on all cylinders for 82 games in a season, Adam Fox and Keandre Miller together on the blue line is how you do it. You bring down Adam Fox by pairing him with Calvin DeHaan or Carson Soucy or Ryan Lindgren. You bring down Keandre Miller by playing him with Will Borgen or Jacob Trouba. Why not elevate those two players to get the best possible duo that you can and put them on the top pair together? It's that simple, and I will say it until it happens. And if it doesn't happen, you can write it on my headstone that those two should have played together.
Yeah, you can call me crazy right now. And there's two things you can call me crazy about. The first, though, is Keandre Miller, Adam Fox will be the top pair. Will Borgen and Braden Schneider should be the second pair. I know Braden Schneider will be on his offside. To me, you have to find two defensemen to play the third pair. That's how I would go into this offseason, because if you get two defensemen, the worst case scenario is you drop Schneider back down to the right side, and odds are you're going to have Zach Jones, Soucy, one of those two guys is still going to be around, and Vakanainen, right? So one of those three guys or two of those three guys are going to be your 6th and 7th defensemen. So you have the extra lefty. You got to start putting the best players with the best players. I think that Braden Schneider is another guy that we look at and you see the raw potential, right? You see the physicalities there. We've seen flashes of the offense. I think he needs to play with a more steady defenseman. I mean, Jacob Trouba was mentoring him a little bit, and that's all well and good. But when you look at Will Borgen's not going to do anything flashy. But if you could put him with Braden Schneider, and Braden Schneider can adjust to the left side, and now you have two guys that are pretty physical, can play defense, and might be able to work well with each other. We already know what Adam Fox and Keandre Miller can do. So now you have a smaller budget that you have to spend on defensemen, and on a team that is already stockpiled with bad contracts. To me, that's the way you have to go about it. The other thing I wanted to say, because Zook, you mentioned this earlier, am I crazy or am I the only one that misses the stress of watching a Rangers playoff game? Like, I enjoy the playoff hockey I'm watching, but it doesn't feel the same to me without having that, like, I have to put the remote on one side of my body because I'm superstitious or any of those things.
Literally, I remember, dude, and this isn't Rangers, but during the Mets postseason run last year, during game 4 against the Phillies, I was sitting on this couch that's right behind me, and I was sitting, and they kept leaving the bases loaded. I lie down or lay down, whatever the proper English is. And as soon as that happened, Lindor hit the home run. And from the 7th inning on, I did not move from that spot the rest of the game until Diaz couldn't throw a strike in the 9th. And I was like, all right, I got to change this up. And then the rest is history.
My girlfriend can vouch for me. My remote has to be facing the net that the Rangers are shooting at. To me, I feel like it has the power to push the puck that way. It hasn't worked, obviously they haven't won a cup since I've been born, so I might have to change that up.
I do. You're right, though. As much as I've had a stress-free April and May, which is nice, I'm not waking up and being panicked like, oh shit, they play today. I miss it. I miss literally. I had the games on sometimes at work, and I'd have my dress shirt on, sweating through my entire shirt.
You're more invested. It's fun. It's disappointing every year, but it's fun while they're in it.
Having that investment is so cool.
The tough thing for me is, and I don't want to speak for you guys, but I think I'm a much bigger Knicks fan than you guys, just from like our casual conversations about basketball. That was it's tough on me. Like last year, there was like 21 straight days where there was like a playoff game. Every
I remember
night.
that.
Like, and it's like some days you just want like an off. Like I'm happy tonight. There's no Mets and there's no Knicks. Like I'm just gonna be able to relax. Like last year, it was every single freaking night. The little difference about that is, like I didn't really think the Knicks ever had a real shot last year to win it, where I thought the Rangers did. It would be interesting if the Rangers were in the same spot they were last year now, with the Knicks up 3-1 against the Celtics and Tatum out, and the rest of the NBA just watching them not being as good, especially with the Pacers making it to the next round. Like, it's stressful. It's stressful.
Are you as confident? So you had said earlier about with the Caps and Canes, right? The Caps and Canes 3-1. Yeah. It seems like the Canes are moving on. Are you as confident in the Knicks, especially with Tatum out, that you are in who were up 3-1 as you are in the Canes?
3-2 now.
To move on.
Well,
yeah.
To be honest, it's kind of sad by the Knicks that like Tatum's out and the Celtics were -5.5 yesterday. Tatum's still out and the Knicks are only -2.5 like tomorrow. They're saying like without the best player on the Celtics, who's one of the better players in the league on a neutral site, the Celtics would be favored by 1 or 2 points. And it's tough. It's tough because the way the Celtics play is it's feast or famine. Like they're going to come out and shoot 53s and they're either going to hit 25 or they're going to hit 5. So you literally have no pulse with the Celtics. I'll say this. Josh Hart, after the game yesterday, took offense to someone asking him, like talking about the fact that Game 6 was a must-win. Game 6 is a must-win. They cannot go back to the Boston Garden next Monday night and think they're going to come out with a Game 7 win. They could easily win that, but no, I'm fairly confident that the Knicks are going to win Game 6. They're better constructed than the Celtics right now. The great equalizer is just the 3-point shot that the Celtics seem to have. But I mean, I was looking at tickets. I was thinking about going by myself tomorrow, like just to get into the stadium with a seat you could see is like $1,100.
Yeah,
probably the biggest Knicks game of almost our lives almost. I mean, I'm sure there was bigger finals games when we grew up, but the Garden's crazy when the Knicks play.
I mean,
I went to Game 7 last year when we lost against the Pacers. We were down 20 with like 5 minutes into the game. It was still nuts the whole time.
So again, I can speak for myself. I don't really watch the Knicks a ton. I think the only game I've watched this postseason, they got ramrodded in Game 3 against the Celtics. That was the only time.
That's the game that I watched too. I watched Mitchell Robinson.
Well, they got ramrodded the first 3 games. They just happened to like get
So let's just say, and I don't want to look ahead for your sake, but let's say they get through Boston. Are you confident against Indiana? Because it seems like they have been their kryptonite in the postseason.
I wouldn't be.
Indiana's a tough matchup for anyone because they're like a college team. They run like 10, 11 guys out there, and they kind of are like the Hurricanes of basketball, where they like run a million different guys out there and just press you, quote unquote, forecheck and just D up and all that stuff. That the Pacers, if you were to relate them to a hockey team, are probably the Hurricanes. With that being said, there's a way to beat them. They don't have the most top end talent. But no, I mean, it's the kryptonite. You almost like the fact that the Knicks lost to them last year. You know, in sports, you kind of think that gives you that, you know, that edge in terms of that want. The other side of it is the Knicks would have Game 7, even though they lost in Game 7 to the Pacers last year. That can't be understated, having the game at home. But it's weird because it shifts. It shifts. So you went into the Celtics saying, hey, like, who knows if we're going to win this series? And suddenly you become like the Rangers. It's very much like the Rangers last year, where you make the conference finals, it becomes championship or bust. So there's no good feelings if the Knicks lose to the Pacers in 7, or the Knicks go to the finals and they lose in the Thunder. look at what happened with the Rangers this year. Like, we were set on the fact that, oh, this is a team with a core we're going to get more chances. You never know in sports. Think about the Celtics. They won last year. Jason Tatum might not ever be the same again, and he's definitely probably not going to start the season playing. Like, a lot of times you only get one shot at this. There's very few sustained real runs, which is why what the Panthers are doing is incredible and why they're such a good hockey team. But the Rangers are a very good example for the Knicks, where just because if they were to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, that doesn't mean, oh, they won a round last year. Oh, they won 2 rounds this year. That means they're on pace to win 3 and make it to the championship. That's not how sports works, and all you got to do is look at this Rangers team to see that.
Yeah,
there is one certainty, though. The certainty is that the Rangers will be in the conference final next year. If we've learned anything from the last 6 years.
I'm very happy you said that. Very happy you said that, because I was going to pose this question before we went offline, but it's a good time to do it now. Let's put ourselves in the shoes next year, right? Rangers go to the conference final. I'm sure we'll all be thrilled, right? It's always fun when they get that far. If they lose again in the conference final, how do you deem the season? Is it a success because of what happened this year, or is it a failure because this seems to be the trend?
It's tough. It's really tough. And it's hard to sit here and say you were the last 4 teams left in a 32-team league and call it a failure.
Yeah.
Especially after what they went through this year. And, you could talk about, let's be honest. If this team makes the conference final next year, it is because they have become resilient. They have been able to find their game, and they've done a complete 180 and learn from their mistakes. So to say if they don't go and win a Stanley Cup next year, it's so hard to win a Stanley Cup, man. Like, you look at these
past
teams,
that point because they haven't won it since '94. So I have no sympathy for that organization.
I get
Just like Leafs fans have no sympathy for their team.
And I completely get it. And I would be just as disappointed as anybody else as if they make it that far again for the 7th time in like 20 years to the conference final and past that and not winning a Stanley Cup. So the disappointment would 100% be there. I think calling it a abject failure or whatever, especially after what we went through this year, I wouldn't go that far, but it would certainly be disappointing.
Yeah, it's going to be disappointing regardless. Now, if I'm in that situation, I'm going to be, oh, this is awesome, you conference finals again. So I'm going to be happy. But then again, you get sobered by the defeat, and you kind of look at it, right? Next year is the last year of Artemi Panarin's contract. If they go that full contract without making the Stanley Cup final, with how good of a player he's been for them production-wise, and with the other pieces they've had around him, it's a failure. Now, the only thing that would save that is if McDavid also doesn't win a cup, becomes a free agent, and the Rangers get a hungry Connor McDavid, because that's the only way that the Rangers can win the cups is by signing the good players from Edmonton. So there's a silver lining in all of it, but I can't stop the feeling of it really is cup or bust next year, even though they didn't make the playoffs this year, which is so odd and rare. But because it's going to likely be the same core, because you have a coach in Mike Sullivan who's been there, won it twice, right? I believe he's the only American head coach to win the Stanley Cup twice. And you have a general manager who took so much heat this year for his decision-making and kind of cutthroat ways and tendencies in the offseason that got extended. It's like if you're putting that much stock into what you have, you're almost kind of guaranteeing that you're going to turn it around, get back to the playoffs, and make a run. And it just can't be make the playoffs and drop it in round 1 or 2. You're putting the stakes back to where they were at the beginning of last season.
And listen, to the people that say, listen, you went through this charade before. You hired a coach that won a Stanley Cup. Obviously, it didn't work out. You've tried that route before. Mike Sullivan's won a Stanley Cup a heck of a lot more recently than Peter Laviolette did. And Mike Sullivan has won a Stanley Cup in this era of the National Hockey League, where it is the offense, it is the fast pace, it is the forechecking physical on top of the skill and speed. And again, Mike Sullivan never had a goaltender like Igor Shesterkin. Obviously there's no one on this Rangers team that'll ever be as good as Sidney Crosby or even Evgeny Malkin were in their primes when they had him, but they have some pretty damn good players as well, on top of the fact that they have the best goaltender. And I will say it again, they have the best goaltender in the National Hockey League, especially come postseason time, on this team. So I don't want to hear, well, you tried the route of a Stanley Cup winning head coach in the past before and it didn't work out. This is a guy that's won it recently, and this is a guy that's going to be given the tools and the keys to a Ferrari, basically. And it sounds stupid to say it because they missed the playoffs this year, but this team is a Ferrari. And if it's going right, it is the coolest thing that you can watch. It is some of the best product you can watch. And it's just a matter of finding that and unlocking that was basically hidden behind a bank safe this year because there was nothing anybody could do to fully tap into the potential of this team.
Zook, I'm going to say this for you. Chris Knobloch is heading to his second straight Western Conference final, and his starting goalie is Stuart Skinner. So if the Rangers hired him like I wanted to instead of Peter Laviolette, imagine what he could have done with Igor Shesterkin. But whatever. I like Mike Sullivan as a head coach. I think he was the ideal candidate for the veteran group, but I hate the fact that they refuse to go with a young coach. And if next year doesn't go perfectly to plan, I'm just of the belief, and they're not going to do it because you just hired Mike Sullivan, but I'm at the point where I'd almost rather than bring in a first-time NHL head coach that has a track record of success at other levels and just revamp the roster. Like go for that route of we have to find a way to tear down and rebuild, because as much as they sent out a letter and did a rebuild, it wasn't a rebuild. They signed Panarin, they signed all these guys. They wound up getting, stumbling into a number 2 and number 1 overall pick that didn't really pan out so far, at least with Alexei Lafreniere. Kakko's not even on the team anymore. So if you're going to rebuild, you got to do it the right way. That's a long, long haul to get back on track. But there comes a point in time where you can't keep signing, over 30 forwards and relying on a goaltender, because you're in a situation now. You've committed the 8 years to Igor Shesterkin. If you're going to win a cup, it has to be with him. So are you going to postpone the cup window by signing over the hill guys, or are you going to actually put a core in place that will give you a 4-year window, say, come year 4 of Igor Shesterkin's contract? And then you're gambling on the fact, is he going to be the same caliber goalie? So I don't like the situation they're in at all. I think it's self-inflicted, but to me, that's...
You can go back to Stanley Cups, you can go back to all this stuff. I know this game in the grand scheme of the season and the franchises don't mean much, but like, when I watched the Penguins this year with some of their bad rosters, and I had the lineup that they beat us with this year, that was one of like the worst games before the Four Nations when people were freaking out. The Penguins played a good style of hockey. They just had awful goaltending, and with some of their injuries, they really didn't have a lot of top-end talent on the ice. But I remember this game specifically, the Penguins were all over us. They were legitimately like all over us the whole game. Not like hurricane-esque forechecking, but the puck was deep in our zone and they were on our backs like the entire game. And I know what a lot of people say, and Steven, you said it yourself about Sullivan, it's a fast, offensive, modern style of hockey. And it's just like, look at this team. Like, it's got Bokandi Imama. Like, I've never even heard of some of these guys.
Let's go down this roster really quickly from top to bottom. That's a Bruins castaway. That's an Islanders and Canucks castaway. Bemstrom, I don't think started. I forgot what team he played with before. Bunting is a castaway from Toronto and Carolina. Cody Glass, castaway from Vegas. Kevin Hayes, castaway from everybody.
From everywhere. Yeah.
Dan Heinen, castaway from Boston. Amama is I know he's a fighter. I don't know if he was homegrown or not.
He is a fighter.
Lizotte,
I think he's their prospect.
Lizotte is a Kings castaway. Raquel is a castaway from Anaheim. Rust, homegrown. Tomasino, castaway from Nashville. I mean, those are...
Who's the best player out of all those guys? Who's the best player?
It's either Raquel or Rust, but
Raquel played 21 minutes and Rust played 20 minutes. Like, that's a crazy lineup.
I will say that Blake Lizotte has scored some crazy goals against the Rangers from his time in the chrome helmets with the Kings, which I still am undecided on what's worse, the LA Kings chrome helmet or the Vegas Golden Knights mustard style home jersey. I can't even root for Vegas anymore because that might be the ugliest color jersey I've ever seen in my life.
But I hate the new jerseys that they got, that gold one.
I know the black or gray or whatever weird dark color you want to call it wasn't flashy, but Jesus, man, this new one is heinous. It's disgusting, and it's got sparkles on it, like they're going to a show afterwards. That's not a hockey jersey, and I just whatever. I'm not talking about the Vegas Golden Knights ugly jerseys, but I just don't understand how. Yes, he got a lot out of that team, and sure, but are you trusting that he's going to come in and get a lot out of a team that coach after coach has tried? And yeah, they've made some runs, but they've made runs based on the goaltender. It's never been the team. And I don't think that until you can get the rest of the roster to have a successful postseason run, and mind you, now you're going to have to try to do that without the franchise's one of the franchise's best postseason performers, because I think we all agree Chris Kreider's not coming back. I can't buy into that fact until I see it, and until I see this team playing better hockey for more than 5 games into the season, then maybe you could get me to buy something a little bit.
You got to pray it's a Last Dance type vibe, which would be a total, like, I don't know if these guys have it in them, but it would be a total reversal of what we all know they felt this year, like they were entitled to kind of what I was saying before. They won a few first rounds. They won a second round. They made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. Oh, we just got to show up, and there's a path that we're good enough to make it to the Stanley Cup. Hopefully what happened last year, and again, you got to take it with a grain of salt because you don't know the makeup of these guys. If they had such a big makeup, it wouldn't have even happened to begin with. But hopefully, like, the Sullivan hire with some of the contracts make it seem like, if this window right here doesn't work, it's a whole different roster that we're probably looking at. With
we
some
said that after they lost to the Devils in the first round and they hired Laviolette. It was the same exact mantra. It's not the coach; it's the players. But
I think Sullivan. I think this is it. Like, everyone's gone if Sullivan doesn't work, and some guys are going to be gone during it because their contracts are up. But it could happen. I don't think that Drury would go before Sullivan. But I think this is it. Like, I think once Sullivan goes, hopefully he never goes. Hopefully we just keep winning Stanley Cups. But once he goes, I think that's the max Drury has with this team. Sullivan. This is Drury's last head coach. So even if you want to make the argument that Drury goes earlier, sure, he is not outlasting Mike Sullivan.
I wholeheartedly disagree with that.
You think Drury's going to outlast Mike Sullivan?
Whoever becomes better friends with Dolan.
I might have not read exactly what you were saying right. Are you saying that Drury will go before Sullivan, or Drury won't go before Sullivan?
No, I'm saying Drury won't last past Mike Sullivan. However many
Correct.
years Sullivan is here for 4 years, Drury's here for 4 years. If you want to say he's going to go after 1, 2, or 3 or before Sullivan goes, sure. But this is Chris Drury's last head coach.
Yes.
This is it.
The
new guy that's going to come in is going to clean house besides Igor and Fox and some of the younger guys. So, this is it for everybody. And I think, like Brendan was saying, maybe with Laviolette, that was kind of, but this is definitely it for Chris Drury.
And I had said it earlier in the show as well. I would not be surprised if you get 3, 4, 5 years of Mike Sullivan and 1 year of Chris Drury, right? Like, anything can happen. I think if they have a bad season this year, Sullivan will stay and Drury's gone. So I think it's more likely that we're going to see Sullivan Drury get canned after this year than we do Sullivan. And I don't think that's a crazy thing to say, but
I agree.
I
completely agree with that.
It's going to be interesting. I mean, listen, what day is it? It's May 15th. We have about 4 months until we find out what this team is made of. And I mean, obviously there's the draft and free agency and a little bit of the preseason, but that's all great. This team's going to be a lot of what it was last year. And are you going to get the potential out of the guys that seemingly went by the wayside last year?
No,
it will be left to be seen. So no is a very good answer.
All right. Well, we got to wrap up, but before we do,
one more. We each got one more thing. Okay. We each get a minute at our one more thing.
Go for it.
I feel like a lot of. I think it might be the same thing. Maybe me and Zooks. I don't know about you, Brendan.
We'll see.
All right. My last thing is big series this weekend. Mets and Yankees. We're split 2/3 on this show. Mets to Yankees. The series doesn't matter because it's May 15th or May 16th when it starts. But let's get a prediction. Who wins the series? and how on a decibel level, how bad does Juan Soto get booed despite only being a Yankee for like 7 months of his career?
Well, the latter, it's going to be loud.
It's going to be loud.
And if it's not, I'm going to be really I don't care how much you liked Juan Soto. It's just the fact that he went to the Mets. You have to boo him. It doesn't matter. Boo him. And it better be loud. And it better be in his face. And in the right field, the bleacher creatures better be all over. I think the Mets take 2 or 3. I haven't watched a ton of baseball because it's still hockey season. And I have no faith in this Yankees roster. Haven't since, Aaron Boone took over. I love what Judge is doing. I think he's a great player. I think that every time there's a big moment, he chokes, and I'm not naive to that fact. So I don't trust the rest of the roster around him besides Trent Grisham, who's better than Juan Soto. But other than that, I think that I am going to go Mets win 2 of 3 as the one Yankees fan on this crew. That way I can only be happy.
I think if I think the World Series was being played today, the Mets would win, but I think that it's a normal regular season. The Yankees are going to win, and why I say that is
I don't know why you think the Mets are going to the World Series when the Dodgers exist.
No, if it was, and the reason why I say that is the rotations. Like the Yankees set up their rotation for this series. They're skipping Yarbrough to pitch Fried on Sunday, so they got Rodon, Schmidt, and Fried, and the Yankees aren't going to face Senga, who I think is far and away our best pitcher. They're not going to face Holmes, who last night wasn't good, but hasn't been terrible. Like if you
facing Holmes or no?
No, they're not.
Oh, that would have been fun.
He pitched last night.
I have and he keeps proving me wrong. I don't know if Griffin Canning's going to fare well against.
Wait for Clay Holmes, by the way. It's a latter half of the season type of thing with him.
Yeah, the thing about Clay Holmes is when we make the playoffs, he's like such an easy candidate to just throw back into the bullpen when you shorten your rotation.
You don't want to do that.
I don't want him starting.
Did you give your prediction? Did you say 2 or 3 for the Yankees?
I'm going to say 2 or 3 for the Yankees, but honestly, it wouldn't shock me if Peterson matched Fried on Sunday night, inning for inning, because he's just a big game pitcher. And even though, like you said, it's a series in May, if this thing is tied up 1-1 and the Mets or Yankees are playing in Sunday night baseball, it's as big as an early season baseball game, feelings-wise, for these guys as it could be.
Max Fried has been amazing.
He's Max Fried baseball.
That's been so.
I'm so happy that he is a Yankee,
not a Brave.
On the sole fact that he's not pitching for the Braves anymore because he has had the Mets career. He's 9-5 against the Mets, but he's a 2.5 ERA. I mean, he's been absolutely unreal. Obviously, what Judge is doing is otherworldly. The fact that you're sitting here in mid-May and he's still hitting. Is he still hitting over 400?
Yeah, I don't think he is anymore.
Sure. No, I think he is.
Either way, to be
Seattle knocked it down.
Flirting with 400 is nuts.
He's at 412.
Jesus Christ!
Oh shit!
He went to 399 for like a day.
Yeah,
he went 2 for 4 the last game.
I think I have been. I mean, listen, I'm a pessimistic Ranger fan just because I've been proven that basically by the way the team plays, and I've been a little bit more positive with these Mets after last year and kind of what I've seen this year. I think, and we've seen it in the last couple weeks or last week or two with the Mets, where you're not getting their A game. And it might be because they're playing the Pirates and, they're not playing great quality teams and they beat the Cubs, but they're finding ways to win games. They, if they're hitting, they're maybe not pitching well, but they're hitting their way out of it. If they're pitching well, they might not be hitting, but they still find ways to win. Their bullpen is banged up, but hurt. Their starters are overachieving or, whatever David Stern's pitching lab is, it's seemingly working.
I have our best pitcher.
No, and they still don't have Montas and Minaya. But I think there is it's a cop-out answer, but I think there's a world where I don't think anybody sweeps, but I wouldn't be shocked if the Mets won 2 of 3. I wouldn't be shocked if the Yankees won 2 of 3. If I had to pick, give me the Mets. I think it's going to be fun. It is going to be a fun weekend in New York between that. The Knicks game 6 is tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
It's Friday.
And then 7 would be Monday. So
yeah,
2 days. It'd be a whole weekend to think about it. Just for the Mets, it's kind of nice.
We get a fun weekend in New York with sports. That's my minute that went about 5 minutes over. But
mine will be 10 seconds. I just wanted to say, does Carolina close the series out
tonight? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. See, that was 10 seconds. There you go.
Mine, Do you guys think the Rangers are going to keep their pick?
No.
I wanted to talk about that, and not long, obviously, but I think they will, because anything that we think they're going to do, they do the exact opposite. And I think that the only silver lining I can give is that if we're talking about next season being this, rebound and their plan is to go to the conference final, you're not going to have a pick worth not keeping it this year, right? If Pittsburgh gets the 29th pick or whatever it is, you swallow that and you live with it. So you're at 12, but I think they're going to wind up keeping it.
Here's your thing, right? If you expect to be better next year, and I think everybody in the organization expects that they're going to be better next year, you have to give up this pick because it gives you a trade piece.
They're not going to make the pick
year.
either year. They're going to keep it and trade it.
But you're saying reasons why they should get rid of it, and I'm trying to give the one reason why they'll keep it, because that's what they're going to wind up doing. Because every single person I've seen talk about it is like, okay, very easy decision. You give this pick to Pittsburgh, and you have your pick next year, regardless of how the season
because it is so much smarter to keep the pick next year, because if you suck next year, you will have your first round pick. You will have a good draft pick. And if you're good, you then have a trade piece come the deadline time. So the overwhelmingly correct answer is you give Pittsburgh your pick this year. Will they do it? Most likely not.
Which is why Chris Drury is spending a lot of time scouting the players that he could take at pick 12.
Well, if you follow me on X, by the way, I have said that they should get rid of it. I want that to be known on record, on video, before people jump down my throat saying I said they're going to keep the pick.
We're going to be sitting here come trade deadline time next year, and either we don't have a first-round pick to give anybody to go out and get a prime asset, or we're going to sit here at the end of the year saying, shit, we had a top 5 pick that now Pittsburgh's going to go get.
But do you want them to have a pick available to trade next year when they're likely going to trade it for a Carson Soucy replica? Like,
it's just so yin and yang. Like you never know. It's like, I mean, it's the boat and the mystery box, right? You have a boat right now. It could be something completely different come next year. It could even be another boat, but you don't know. You don't know. And I think that the best, most sane thing you can do is get rid of the known, which is the 11th pick in a not deep draft, for the security of we're either going to have it to trade or we're going to have it to use next year if we suck.
I'm with you. I just don't have the faith that they're going to do that.
It's also funny, the people that are like, if we lost a few games or lost to the Islanders, like it would have been our pick. If you know anything about the Rangers this year, if we were slated in the same spot the Islanders were in, we were not getting the first pick this year.
No, the cards would have fallen a different way.
And I know we're
and the lottery was awful. The lottery was awful.
That's what I was going to say. I couldn't follow along.
No one knew what was going on. I didn't know what numbers meant.
Buchagros is screaming as a ball goes up. I'm like, what does that even mean? It's just a number.
When they brought up the graphic that said who was eliminated, that was
the first pick was fine because you knew if they won that draft or that ball, they were the one pick. For some reason, Seattle wins the second draft or whatever, the second lottery, and they get the 4 pick. How does that make sense?
Go back to the pictures on squares. It's such a simple thing that is
or the ping pong ball with the team.
Yeah, it's just as like
I don't need.
It's just as cool as like seeing what actually happened because you don't know what happened.
I don't need to see the full thing. I don't need to see every single lottery ball be pulled.
That loser.
You're not clearly it didn't work. Everyone still thinks it's rigged, right? Everyone still thinks it's rigged. So the whole process of going behind the scenes and seeing exactly how they're doing it didn't help anybody. So it just show me a card.
I remember I sent in our group chat. I said, "Wow, Seattle's got the 2 pick," and they're like, "Nope, it's 4." All right, great. I don't know what I watched.
Makes sense. Whatever. All right. Well, we actually went longer than I thought we were going to with nothing to talk about. So if you enjoyed this, then you're going to love it when we actually do have stuff to talk about. We'll see when the next ones we're going to do. We're going to try to get a couple of things going in terms of talking to other people from other teams around the league and get a little Metro preview going. But enjoy the Mets-Yankees series. Boo on Soto if you're a Yankees fan.
Let's go Mets.
And
let's go Mets.
We'll talk next week.
See you, boys.